Hello, 8th graders. Welcome to KCS at Home Summer Edition. Please know that your teachers were incredibly disappointed that we did not get to finish the year as planned, but they would be thrilled to know that you were choosing to continue learning throughout the summer. Today we're going to talk about the political and social aspects of the Reconstruction. So if this video is hard to understand, you have 4 different options. The first thing that you should do is turn on closed captions if available. You should adjust the playback speed to slow down the video. You should consider watching short clips, then pause, listen, and watch again. Or you should ask someone in your home to watch the video with you. Stop frequently and talk to your partner about what you heard and understood. So, hello. My name is Emily Broussard, and I teach 8th grade U.S. History at Whittle Springs Middle. Throughout this lesson, we're going to be talking about 3 different standards. The first one is 8.67, which says, analyze the immediate political impact of the assassination of President Abraham Lincoln and Andrew Johnson's ascension to the presidency. The second one is 8.68, which says, explain the significance of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments to the U.S. Constitution. And the third one is 8.70. Identify the significance of the Tennessee Constitution of 1870, including the right of all men to vote and the establishment of a poll tax. The essential question of this lesson is, how did the end of the Civil War impact the United States? The objective is, I can explain the political and social aspects of the United States during the Reconstruction. So by the end of this video, you should be able to do that. You should be able to explain the political and social aspects of the United States during the Reconstruction. All right, so just a little Abraham Lincoln refresher. He was the one who delivered the House divided speech in the debate against Stephen Douglas in their race for the Illinois Senate. Lincoln lost that race, but in 1860 would win the presidential election after running against John Bell, John Breckinridge, and Stephen Douglas. And he is known as the 16th president of the United States. As many of you already know, Abraham Lincoln was eventually assassinated. His date of death is April 15th, 1865. On the evening of April 14th, he was watching a play called Our American Cousin with his wife and some friends at Ford Theater on, like I said, the evening before, so April 14th, when a man named John Wilkes Booth got into their box and shot Lincoln in the back of the head. So Lincoln was immediately attended to by a doctor, and he was taken to a home nearby, but he would eventually die the next morning, so April 15th. Andrew Johnson, who was Abraham Lincoln's assistant or vice president at the time, became the 17th president of the United States. So if you can think back to the standard that I mentioned, it wants us to discuss the immediate political impacts of these 2 events. So the assassination and then Andrew Johnson becoming president. So an immediate political impact of the assassination is just that Andrew Johnson became the new president. So Andrew Johnson was a Tennessean and he was a Southern Democrat. So keep in mind, Lincoln was a Republican. So Andrew Johnson, after becoming president, he started the process of Reconstruction following Abraham Lincoln's plan, following Abraham Lincoln's Reconstruction plan. But he was not as sensitive to the rights as African Americans. And you'll learn more about that and his plan in a different lesson. So the next standard that we are going to talk about is the new amendments. So the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments are new. The 13th Amendment says, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States, or any place subject to their jurisdiction. The 14th Amendment says, all persons born or naturalized in the United States are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of the law, nor deny any person the equal protection of the laws. Now, please note that this is only the first section of the Fourth Amendment. There are actually 3 sections total. And then the 15th Amendment says, the right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. So those are the 3 new amendments. And while it is very important for us to know the amendments, we are going to dive deeper and talk about why they're important, what their significance was, and how they impacted the United States. So for the 13th Amendment, it abolished slavery, and it impacted the South in a different way because they relied on slaves for their economy. The 14th Amendment said that African Americans were citizens, and they now had equal protection of the law. And the 15th Amendment said that former slaves could now vote. Keep in mind, though, as I've stated in the top left corner, it was still up to the states to ratify these amendments. These 3 amendments became known as the Reconstruction Amendments or the Civil War Amendments. So what was Tennessee like post-Civil War? Well, William G. Brownlow was the governor. He took Andrew Johnson's place after Johnson became the vice president in 1865. He was a Democrat, but he was a Union supporter. He sided with Republicans in Congress, and he urged for the ratification of the 14th Amendment in Tennessee. On July 24th, 1866, Tennessee became the first state to be readmitted to the Union. However, eventually many of his changes were reverted. So our last standard that we're going to touch on is the Tennessee Constitution of 1870. It was approved on March 26, 1870. African American men could now vote in Tennessee. However, the Constitution also issued a poll tax. This poll tax was a fee that was required before voting. So you couldn't vote unless you paid this fee. This was sort of used to keep poor Americans from voting in the elections. So these are some questions that I want you to think about as you are reflecting on this lesson and as you are completing your tasks for this lesson. So how might Reconstruction have been different if Lincoln wasn't assassinated? How do you think the economy changed in the South after the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments? In what ways do you think the poll tax in the Tennessee Constitution impacted the outcome of elections? What do you think the impact was of a Southern Democrat taking over after Lincoln? So, as I said, you don't have to write out the answers to these questions. I just want you to be thinking about them as you're going through your assignments. So, your first task is going to be to create a timeline. So all of the instructions for your 2 tasks are written out on this paper So it should be in your packet. So I also included this reading on Andrew Johnson becoming president and a timeline of Abraham Lincoln's assassination. So the task says create a timeline on the most important aspects of Lincoln's assassination and Johnson's ascension to the presidency. So you only have to include 7 events, as it says down here, and there are many more than 7 on these pages. So that is why most important is italicized, because you're going to have to read through them and figure out which events are most important to include on a timeline. You should also have a timeline template, so you can create your timeline this way or this way, it doesn't matter. Please just make sure your timeline has a title at the top. And like I said, include at least 7 events with a date and a brief description. It is also important to keep in mind that your events are in chronological order, so they have to go in order in which they happened. So that is your timeline. You may also use your textbook if you have it at home or if you have access online for additional resources for this task and the next task that I am about to explain to you. So your second task is to create an infographic on the 13th, 14th, or 15th Amendment. Your infographic should include text, graphic, and an image. So I'm about to show you some online examples, but I have included a template if you want to do it on paper. If you don't have these papers printed out, feel free to just create this on a notebook piece of paper. And same with the timeline. If you don't have a printout, you can just get a notebook piece of paper and draw a line for your timeline. But this is included. If you're accessing it online, you can copy this down on a piece of paper. So, like I said, you can do it that way, or you can use a free website such as Piktochart or Canva. So I'm about to show you some examples using an online resource. While I'm showing you these examples, I want you to notice how each example has a text, so words of some sort, a graphic, and an image. Well, maybe. Okay, let's see if this will work. All right, I'll just show it to you like this. So this example is on, all right, we'll look at this example. This example is on wealth and poverty in Brazil. And like I said, you can look and see that this has text. It has a title of some sort. It has an image and it has a graph. Same with this one, North and South Korea. It has image, graph, title, text. And then let's see, that one's not going to show, but that one's on the pyramids. So again, you can do it online like that. You can do it on the template that I attached, or you can do it on a notebook piece of paper. This is your chance to be creative. So I think that you should take advantage of it. I hope that you enjoyed learning about some of the political and social changes after the Civil War. And I hope that you take advantage of this opportunity to continue learning as you are working on the tasks. Thank you for watching.